What's up, everybody? We're live, and I'm hearing this other camera over here. This is going to be a special episode, to say the least, okay? I rushed in here. I thought it might be kind of cool if in the background you could see exactly what I'm doing. Uh, so here's what I'm doing today. I am mixing. Sorry, let me know if you can hear that microphone going. It's a little repeat, and I can hear it. I don't know if you can. This is a completely different setup today, and I'm going to tell you about it here in just a second. But let me know in the comments. Mark, tell me if you can hear that camera over there, if it's going to be bothering anybody. Yeah, I'm in the studio, right? Okay, let me tell you what I'm doing today, okay? So tomorrow, be sure you tune in because Scott Williamson is coming in. Scott is he produced Point of Grace back in the day. I'm not sure if he's a song. Hey, Isaac, is the delay bothering anybody? Because if it is, I may not be able to do what I was going to do. Let me show you what I was going to do. I'm showing you this. I don't know how significant that is. Probably not. So you know what? Let me just do this real quick. Bye. There. Now he's gone. All that delay is gone. Okay, so I will still be able to show you what I'm doing. It's just I'm coming from a different webcam today. Hopefully the audio is as good. Yeah, cool effect, right? Hey Ben. Okay, so I'm in the studio today. Okay, let me go back. I'm losing my train of thought here. Tomorrow, Scott Williamson. Scott Williamson is a producer and a session drummer. He is a phenomenal session drummer. He is a dream drummer because he hits his drums sound fantastic. His timing is amazing. He hits the drums like no other, and it's just real consistent. He's a really easy drummer to mix. If you've never mixed, for you guys who've never gotten to mix a session guy, Scott is one of the best. And he is recently, well, I'll say recently, it's been 4 or 5 years so, because I remember talking to him several years ago and found out that he was really interested in learning to mix. And now he's mixing and he's killing it. Killer mixes. And if you've never heard a mix from a drummer's perspective, tune in tomorrow, okay? We're going to talk to Scott. Go ahead and go to the YouTube page under live, and you can actually get the notification that we're going live, or you can just come here and show up at 8 o'clock like we do every morning, okay? So that's tomorrow. Today, what I thought might be kind of cool is this is what my day looks like today. Last night, I was I was off technically yesterday, but there's never really an off day for somebody who is trying to run their own business and work for a church. It's just a more than full-time job. So last night, late, like 11 midnight or so, I was editing the video that we're going to be showing this weekend. We're pre-recording all of our services. We did 4 worship sets last week, the first of which you saw last Sunday. There are 3 more 3-song worship sets that we still have to edit and everything. Last night, I was able to take our live cut, which was done by all of our volunteers, mixed by volunteers. Mark he tracked it and did a guide mix for us. And today we're going to go in and I'm going to be editing vocals, which I don't know that we'll be able to get to all that because I was not able to get audio into the feed. So you'll be able to see what I'm doing, and I'm going to show you how I set it up, and then I've got to get busy. But here's the rest of the day. Last night was editing. This morning is this broadcast, which I look forward to every day. I hope you guys do too. I really love this. I feel like I'm in my element of just like sharing. Anytime somebody's in the studio with me, I'm just like, hey, here's what I'm doing, just in case you're interested. They're not always interested, and thank you for being patient with me while I try to teach you stuff you may not even want to know. I don't know. So anyway, so today, doing this broadcast, as soon as I hang up, I'm going to get it set up, and I'm going to let you see as much as I can. And then, I'm not going to hold you for any more than an hour. Then, as soon as I hang up, I'm going to mix these 3 songs, which includes melodyning the vocals. And by the way, if you're interested in learning any Melodyne stuff, I can try to set that up, or try, I've had people for years now trying to convince me that I should do a full Melodyne course, because I don't know. I don't know if I have a different approach to it, but I'm pretty fast at it. And I think I'm, just being a producer myself and being a vocal guy, I love doing it. It's fun. It's a creative. It's like video editing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be mixing that today. I'm going to be melodyning. I'm going to be re-triggering drums, because if you saw any of the set last week, you'll know that Michael played. He was sitting on a cajon and with a kick pedal. And so it was hitting the kick, and he was playing a low tom and a snare and an overhead shaker, that sort of thing. What I figured out last weekend was that cajon is not deep enough for the sound that we like. So I use slate trigger to trigger that kick. And it was one of the slate, it was one of the stock triggers from, I think it was the old Zepp kick. It's a real open, boomy sort of thing. It felt organic enough to put in here. And then another thing that Michael was doing was he was hitting the tom, and a lot of times he would hit the tom where I would normally want to hear a snare. So probably what I'm going to do today is trigger some kind of snare-ish sound on that low tom if the song calls for it. And you will still get that organic feel of, like, it's not a drum kit and he's sitting on a cajon and he's playing shaker. I hear all that stuff. So that effect that I talk about, the McGurk effect, is like, if you see it happening, your ear believes it, kind of. So that's the reason that you can mix vocals a little lower on a broadcast mix if you've got video. So anyway, I'm going to lean on that a little bit today. And I've already done some editing where we did 2 takes of one song, at least the first part of it, until somebody messed up on some words or something like that, and they stopped it, and then we restarted again. So I was able to take some of that cut and go into the front of it. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you today. Come to think of it, I didn't export it, but anyway, you'll have to watch Sunday, okay? Crosspointe.com. Let me put this banner up real quick so you'll be able to see it. Crosspointe.com/live is where you'll find all these broadcasts that I'm working on. And I would love it if you guys showed up on Sunday. I know you're in different time zones, and I know you don't have to go to church, most of us. You're usually at home in your pajamas at church, which is, it's really spoiling us, right? So anyway, that's Crosspointe. If you want to see that. Also, if you go to the Facebook page, it's Crosspointe Anaheim. If you go to YouTube, it's Crosspointe Anaheim, which is the same word. I don't know why I said it differently, but anyway, okay. So you guys have any questions, anything you want to see before we get started? Let me scroll through the questions real quick. Isaac Moreno says, in time this time. Was I late yesterday? I don't remember ever being late. I'm always like watching the countdown timer going, should I go live now or should I go live 1 minute early? Was I late? What are you talking about, man? Good morning in the studio. Got the echo worked out, got the effect worked out, Ben says. Let's see. Yeah, Ben was my intern a long time ago, and he was one of those rock star interns. Oh, wait a minute. You're not talking about me. You're talking about Scott. Yeah, he's awesome, man. You met him when you interned with me. Yeah, he's a phenomenal drummer. Don't you think he talks like John Wayne? Because I always thought he talked like John Wayne. Anyway, I think it's really cool. Thank you, Mark. I do use Melodyne quite a bit. Melodyne lessons. Okay. I was, you were late. I'm with you. I'm with you. Thanks, Isaac. Because I'm real self-conscious like that. I'm like, was I late? Okay. So sorry if I'm staring up over the thing. My screens are up here. My camera's here. Couldn't find any higher place to put it and keep the mic close to my mouth. Okay. Okay. I'm going to share my screen real quick. So let's get started. I'm just going to walk you through the day, okay? I'm not able to see the screen right now, so I don't know if you're asking any questions. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just confirming this is Planning Center over here. If you do a church thing, you know that this is Planning Center. This, even though we're not having a live service, we're still scheduling it like a live service, because all the elements that we film, we're trying harder and harder to make it feel like it's a live service and not a bunch of segments put together. So we want to know that coming out of King of Glory, there is Tiffany's going to do her welcome piece. Brian's going to give the segment, compassion video, and then Graves into Gardens. So what I'm looking at this for is to look at King of Glory, Graves of Gardens, and we're doing new wine. So I'm going to close that window for now. Get it up on out of here. Yeah, let's do that. Now, this is my Pro Tools screen. And again, I'm sorry that you can't hear it, but, you know, this is real world, right? Okay. This is a set that I mixed last week, and the set was "Oh Come to the Altar." And what I did was I pulled up the drive that we recorded on, and I sorted it by last modified. And then I opened up the latest one, figuring that the last one we opened would have the latest settings in it. And then I opened that file, and that is where we are now. Hello, Pro Tools wanting to do stuff on my computer all the time. Okay, let me find my screen again. Here we go. Okay, so these are the 3 songs that I mixed last week. This is the mix that I printed. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to save this mix. I'm going to leave it as it is. But as soon as I find what I'm looking for, because I still haven't found what I'm looking for, right? Somebody put something in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since I still haven't found what I'm looking for, is I'm going to go find that set, which I think is a set after this that we did. I know that there was a stop in the middle of it. So I'm hoping it's this set here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unmute these guys here. I'm going to Command E, and then I'm going to Command M to unmute it. And then I'm just going to go and listen from there and see. And you won't be able to tell, but I will, which set it is. This is it. You know, baby. Okay. That's the song. That's Graves into Gardens. Okay, there's Graves into Gardens, and I'm thinking that we need to unmute this one too. Now, what I'm doing, and I learned this workflow from mixing so many songs for Flatirons. If you haven't checked out Flatirons, check them out too. You too. You got it. Okay. Yeah, so I mixed a lot for Flatirons. It was a blessing to be able to work with those guys. Let's see. Okay, what I'm doing right now, I'm being a nerd. Since these are all cut up here, I'm going to rake over it like this and hit Command H, which will heal all of those cuts, and it makes it all one big file again. I'll probably end up cutting it up again, but it's all one big file for now. So here is my set. This is a 3-song set, and I told you that I was going to do this. So I'm going to find the first part of that again. Okay, there's a set, and then I'm just going to take all these files, mute them. Let's see, I'm just going to drag over them. I'm going to hit E to cut it and Command M to mute it, and that unmuted. Command M is mute and unmute. So what I did was I unmuted what was not muted, and then I'm going to mute it again to mute that file. Now what I'm going to do is do save as in the same session, since all these files are in the same thing. And thank you, by the way, Mark, for putting all this stuff together. And I'm going to call it, is it King of Glory? I'm going to call this song King of Glory. And I'm going to do a little bit better this time. Instead of the Wednesday night and having all this stuff here, I'm going to start a new folder, and I'm going to call it King Grave Wine. And then I'm going to hit create, and I'm going to save it in there. That way, this file is kind of neatly, I'll know where they are because I've been looking for these things. Organization is one of those things that I'm not the most organized person in a lot of ways. In some ways, I'm very organized. Don't roll your eyes. I am, and I'm always looking for ways to be more organized. And just full disclosure here, I mixed a country song for a great band in Nashville a few months ago, and they want one more revision on their song, which is not unusual. I'll bet you I've got tens of thousands of songs in my possession right now, just from people leaving their drives with me. And they'll call back in 5 years and go, "Hey, do you still have that?" Blah, blah, blah. And 99 times out of 10, 99.9 times out of 10, I'm able to find it. I'm not able to find this one, and it's bugging me. I know it's on a portable hard drive, but I can't find it. It's bugging me. So anyway, session organization. So I'm trying to be more organized here so that I can come back in 6 months and recall one word of one song. So, okay, so now that we've got this King of Glory done, I'm going to just start listening to it. And I'll show you one of the first things I'm going to do here. We're listening to the cajon. I wish you could hear this, but this cajon sound is it's cool for the look. I'm not sure that it's great for the sound that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I can find it, this is my new favorite feature, slate, or I'm actually trigger. And I'm going to do a stereo. So I'm going to turn this mono sound into a stereo sound sample. And then I'm going to go to browser, and I'm going to the trigger kicks. And I think that's the old Zep kick. And let's see, audition on. And I'm just going to drag this sound on here and go back to triggering. And now, just adds a little girth to the sound. I'm not even using all the sound. I'm kind of mixing them together. Okay, so I'm looking at the trigger, and it looks like all of these triggers, he played them all pretty consistently, except for maybe this. See, yeah, see, that one didn't trigger because it didn't have the sound on it. So I'm going to set these, since it's a pretty clean track, I'm just going to move this, let's see, what is it? Sensitivity? I know it's detail. Yeah, so I'm just going to pull it down until I trigger that. Still got the softness, but it still triggered the sound, right? So wish you could hear this. I'll work on this, guys. Mark Jacoby, I'll look for it. It's a song called Intoxicated. So okay, are you guys still there? Because it said I was live, and this is the third time I've said this, but I've got a bunch of Pro Tools shortcuts, and sometimes they do not go well with Chrome, which is what I'm using here. Let me know if you're still there, guys. Let me share my screen again. There we go. Okay, we're back. Okay, so so sorry, guys. I did it again. Okay, let me know. I'm going to share my screen one more time, and then I'm going to close this so I don't do that again. Okay. Let me know. Give me this or comment or something if you can still hear me. Okay. I know that you're like 30 seconds delayed, but I'm not going to close the screen until I know you can hear me. So I don't want to waste all of this time here. Show you what I'm doing. Yeah, Mark, you said gone again. As soon as I get the thumbs up that I'm back, you can hear me and see my screen. I will take off. I'm gonna close this window so I don't do that again. Are we live? Yes, Mark, let me know if you can hear me and see me and everything, and I will close this window. Okay, good. Okay, I'm just going to trust. Mark, text me if you don't see anything. I've got the watch on my phone. I'm going to close this window. Go back to this screen. All right, I'm trusting that you can see me. Okay, so what we did was triggered the kick with the Slate Zeppelin sounds. And I know you can't hear me, but and I'm getting this little slap back from because he played the floor tom over the snare. I mean, over the kick, and sometimes they flam a little bit. The thing I'm noticing about this low tom, though, is that it's a little bright compared to the kick, and sometimes it cuts through faster than the kick. Remember the attack principle that I talk about sometimes. The thing that you hear first, you hear as being the loudest. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this tom yet, but I'm going to show you another couple things that I've done here before I let you guys go. This may not be a long broadcast today, but here's one of the things I did, and I thought it's something you need to check out. And this is something that I teach in a course called the MixCoach Approach to Mixing, and I think it's pretty valuable. And I've done it here. Hopefully, I won't prove myself wrong here. Okay. Okay, so I want you to notice something about phase. Okay, since you can't hear, you may as well teach on something that you can see. Okay. Okay, this is a tom that he played. Let me make sure that he's playing on the tom and not just a. Okay, let's go right here where he actually played the tom. Okay, so this is the floor tom, and this is the overhead mic picking up the floor tom. Okay, so I think in the last few broadcasts we've talked about phase alignment. This is a strong argument for phase alignment. Okay, I've just zoomed in. This is the overhead, and this is the floor tom. So sound travels at a speed. It's slower than light. So, and when the sound travels from the tom to the tom mic, it's a lot quicker path than from the tom to the overhead. And what we're seeing here is that difference in time. That is the difference in time. This is where the floor tom starts sound on the floor tom mic, and this is where it starts on the overhead mic. So if you want the tom to cut through, as you can see, it's in phase. It's going down first on the overhead. It's going down first on the tom. So they're in phase. But check this out here. As it gets louder, this one's coming down and this one's still up. So what are you getting when you get that? You're getting some phase cancellation, and that tom is sounding weaker because the overhead is working against that mic. So what I did was, because I knew I had a lot of songs to cover, instead of just adjusting that mic backwards and making this tom mic happen later, so that these, actually this probably would be a more accurate representation of what you're trying to fix. And let's just see if that works. So what I did was I put my meter in samples. Okay. And now if you look right here, you see that 74 right there. I don't know if you can see that well, but that length says 74, and it's telling me the length of this particular section right here. And again, it says 75. So it's an improvement whether you get 74 or 75. And if you look here, I put a time adjust, which is a delay on this, and look at the samples. It's 101. I think I may readjust it because twice now I've gotten. So what I did then was I delayed this track by this amount. So now, even though it doesn't look like it, it's being applied to every song. There's a 75 sample delay on the floor mic because the overhead mic is the furthest mic away from the kit, right? It's the furthest from the cajon. It's the furthest from everything. So That mic, this mic here, the floor tom mic, is always going to sound the way it's going to sound. But what we're trying to do is make it sound good relative to another mic. So just for kicks, on the snare mic, I didn't do this on the snare mic. So I want to do the same thing with the snare mic. We're not moving the overhead. We're moving all the mics in comparison to the overhead. So here's a snare mic that was hit, right? So I'm going to zoom into the snare mic, and look, the phase is right, but look at the difference in the time there. And that is 130. So what I'm going to do is just drag this up here, a copy of it. I actually option dragged it, and that makes a copy of it. And now I'm going to set this to 130. Now the snare drum is back. It's as if we move the snare drum back. And you know what? If I'm going to be a nerd about it, I'm going to do this too. I'm going to drag a copy down here and set it to 0, because now, because if you notice there, it won't go to 0. It goes to 4 samples. So there's a built-in, with every plugin that you use, there's a built-in latency with the plugin. No matter what system you're using, somebody has got to delay everything else so that, things can catch up. There's a 4-sample delay on this. So just putting it in, if we wanted to be, real nerdy about it, we would do 75 minus 4, because that's the actual difference, because that channel didn't have a plug-in. I hope I'm not getting in too deep here, but anyway, I'm putting time adjust on that channel that I'm not using because it has an inherent latency with the plug-in. The other 2 channels, if you look here, the floor tom is 75 sample delay. The snare is 130 sample delay. And you know what? Just because we're doing it, I'm going to pull this trigger down, and I'm going to drag another copy up here just so that we can see where that is. So I'm going to go to the kick where you start playing the kick here, or the cajon. And I'm going to zoom in right here because he actually played it here. And then I'm going to zoom up. I'm holding Command Option and then the up. No, what am I doing? Muscle memory is so strong here. I don't know what shortcuts I'm using. So now I'm going to look at these overheads. There we go. It's a bracket. It's an close bracket. Okay, look at this. This is where the kick started. You can tell that it's got some of this stuff in it, and it's going up. This is going up. So it's in phase. It's just slightly phase shifted. So if we look at where this one starts and where this one starts, and you look at here, it's 248 samples. So the further away that the instrument is from the furthest mic, there's a delay, and we're compensating for that delay. And that delay is 248 samples. So I'm going to do 248. And I guarantee you that if you could hear this, you would be able to tell that the drums are all corrected now. Now, there's plugins to do this now, but this is the old school way of doing it. This is what I was doing, I don't know, 10 years ago. When I first started MixCoach, I was teaching on this. There's plugins to do it now, but now you know the way to do it without plugins. And I guarantee you this is going to be a little tighter, just because, everything is firing at the same time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to open my browser back up, and I'm going to take questions on that, because I think that was, hopefully that was helpful. Let me know. Okay. Okay, Mark, it's a great lesson today. Thank you. If you've got any questions, jump in, and then I'll move on. And I'll try not to accidentally close the screen again. All right, we'll give you a few more seconds, and then I'm just going to move on. All right. Awkward silence. I need to find the sound clip that does the Jeopardy, Final Jeopardy theme song. Okay. All right. So I'm not getting any questions. Hopefully, I will not accidentally close the screen again. Okay. I'm going back to the other screen, King of Glory. And although you cannot hear, I understand, I am going to listen and see if it tightened it up any. And here's me just being a little bit organized. I'm going to put all these in the same place so that I can, I'll know that, it's the first plugin. You want to correct before you affect, in my opinion, and that's with EQ versus EQ and compression. It's with compression than EQ. If you've got a signal that is all muddy and messy, you want to fix that before you send it to a compressor. Okay, if you want to know what you should do first, correct before you affect. So this right here, the timing was off, so I fixed the timing and then I triggered it. Okay, just a little side lesson there. Okay, so I'm going to go to this and just start listening. Okay, and I apologize again that you cannot hear this. Snare already sounds better to me. Okay, I think the drums sound better. They already sound better. So now what I'm going to do is just, I don't know that everybody needs tuning. I don't. I'm pretty sure that with our sensitive ears now, we probably all need a little tuning because people are so used to perfection. And as my friend Keith Thomas told me one time, once it gets out, you can't get it back, right? So maybe I'm putting this out now, and I shouldn't be. I'm gonna go to the end of this song. Okay, so there's the end of the song. I seem to remember us doing a shorter version of this. When I was editing last night, I'm sure that we stopped in the middle of it. So I'm just going to go and check this real quick. I'm going to unmute these regions. Let's not do that. Let's go to the altar. I mean, this is the part where you have the sinking feeling, hoping that you're mixing the right song, but they ended it. Let me see what happened here. Okay, I'm just going to tune the whole thing. So I've got this region here, and I've got all four vocals. And if you notice, I'm correcting before I'm affecting. So I'm tuning the vocals, and then I'm doing all the affecting. And the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to track an EQ'd or compressed vocal into Melodyne because I can't change it after that. It's capturing that into the software. So if you EQ something, even as simple as filtering something, you can't undo that without retracking it in. It just gets messy. So put Melodyne first in the line, okay? Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab this region all the way down to here. And even if they restarted it, which I think they did, I think it was on this one. It may have been in another song I'm thinking about. But I'm going to grab that whole region there. And I'm going to open up Melodyne. Now, if you notice on this, I've got Melodyne, the latest version, grabs the track name. So name your track, and then you'll be able to tell this. Now I'm going to put all of these in record because I'm getting ready to track all of these vocals in at the same time. Okay, let me minimize this window and show you how I'm doing that. And this is such a godsend here, if I can remember how to do it. Okay, yeah, here we go. So I think you go to track, and then you commit this track. Edit selection, which is this selection I've got, the section I've got selected. I don't want to consolidate the clips necessarily. I don't want to render any automation. I don't want to copy sends. I do want to insert. Actually, no, I don't want to insert any tracks, but it's going to do it anyway. I haven't figured out a way around this yet. I just have to delete a bunch of tracks. It says insert after last selected track, which would be this one. I don't want it to do anything, but it's going to do it anyway. It says, what do you want to do? Do you want to hide the other track? I don't want it to do anything. So I'm going to hit OK. And remember, I've got Melodyne. If I can find that window, I've got Melodyne open here. So I'm just going to pull it down here. It's in record. And when I hit OK, it's going to faster than real-time track every one of those vocals completely into Melodyne. I used to have to, it took as much time to do this and do it right as it did to tune the vocals. Not necessarily, I'm exaggerating. But it's rendering all of these tracks, but it's rendering them with the plugins in it. And if I've got this plugin tracking, then I'm kind of hacking the system into tracking all these vocals into Melodyne in that region there. So boom, all of these vocals are now tracked into Melodyne. Ain't that cool? That is worth the price of admission right there. Okay, so here's the downside of it. It did all of these vocals and it tracked that in. And so now this is an exact copy of this. It hasn't been tuned. Well, it is copying it. It's doing waves tune real time, which probably go ahead and take that off of these. But anyway, I'm going to delete these .cm tracks because I don't need them yet, right? I'm going to right click and I'm just going to hit delete. It's going to delete those tracks. It's going to scare me to death saying, are you sure you want to do this? I'm going to hit delete. I think I know what I'm doing. I think. I'm still not sure. Okay, so now they're all tracked into Melodyne, right? Now this SSL channel, if I would have done that before that, I would have tracked these preset or this sound into that, which I'm not ready for. I want it to be unaffected as possible. I want it to sound just like the original track. So, okay, so that's two pretty good lessons today, right? We learned how to, I'm not going to do any Melodyne stuff in there today because, I mean, would you want me tuning your vocal on live Facebook? I didn't think so. Okay, so, all right, I'm going to take a few more questions if you've got them, and then I'm going to probably remove myself from the podcast, from the broadcast on purpose because I didn't do it. I did it twice, not meaning to. Okay. Let's see. There were a few tracks that they started and I kept everything, and that's good. That's the best way to do it, man, because you don't have to resync it a bunch of times. So, okay, 10 people on, 7 people liked it. So 3 people don't like this. I'm going to look, see who's watching. MixCoach has, Facebook page has 7. MixCoach, YouTube has 2 people watching. Not a big deal. But I want to make sure that you guys have your questions answered. I appreciate you coming. And I hope this hasn't been too boring. Okay. I'm going to wait here for just a couple more minutes, and then I'm probably going to, yes, I'm going to tune all the tracks. Hey, Steve. How are you, buddy? Nathan says, are you going to tune it? I'm going to tune it, but not on this broadcast, just because, well, you can't hear it, right? Maybe I'll go a little further. If you want me to tune it, say something in the comments. Thanks, Isaac. I'm glad it's helping, man. Okay, so you can't hear this vocal. So I'm going to show you what I do, okay? I'm going to go to Eddie's vocal, who would be a he just said, hey, doesn't need to be tuned. Don't tune anything unless it needs to be tuned. With that being said, I'm going to tune everything. Okay, I'm going to open up Melodyne here. And this is the way Melodyne looks. Shortcuts, Option Command turns into a magnifying glass, and you can actually do this. And if you notice, there are blobs and there are lines and blobs. The blobs are what Melodyne detects as being the pitch. It's not necessarily true. So, and this is what I want to show you here. I'll do this. My throat is getting sore from talking so much. I'm going to show you this, and then I am going to stop the broadcast. So if you have questions now, ask them, because I'm probably going to, after this, just kind of call it a day, okay? Because I got to mix. Like this guy right here. So most of the signal is down here, right? One little thing came up here. That's actually 2 notes. It looks like he hit a D and then came down to like a C. I need to separate that so that Melodyne doesn't think that's one note, because just because it couldn't separate the note, now it's taking the line and making a blob out of it. So I want to separate that. by doing this. Now you see it jumped right up there, and that's correct. And that's correct. So now if I went back to this, it would tune it more accurately. If I did this and just double clicked, now he's in really good pitch. So with that in mind, what I want to do is separate those notes, and I know that, like, hey, I know you didn't do a good job of this. Like, this is two notes. See how he came up and he's like sitting on a D flat, and then this is sitting on a C. Doesn't make sense necessarily, but now it's two notes. So I leave this tool up as my muscle memory. Right click on your mouse and you'll see this toolbar here. If you're smart, like I used to be, you'll have key shortcuts set up to where you can just choose this from whatever you need. You don't have to keep going to this menu. Right now I'm going to be cutting, so I'm going to the note separation tool. And then I'm just going to take Shift Command and then drag this. See, the Shift Command does this, the Option Command does this, and you'll go between those all the time, right? So I'm going to Shift Command, and notice he's not doing anything there. This, I'm not going to worry about notes like that too much. Also, if you look down at the bottom here, you'll see that you can actually navigate this. I know that's really fast, but I'm going to go to the fat part right here where we actually start singing. Like right there. Looking good right there. But see there's a lick that he's saying that this is saying, as smart as Melodyne is, I'm going to talk like Melodyne. It looks like that's a B flat. Well, it's not a B flat. It's this note going through a B flat. So I'm going to do that. And now you can see that it's not a B flat. It's just a little flat. So I usually separate these licks and scoops and falls is what I call them. You know, when I create the chorus is what I'm going to name all these things. There's another lick coming through. And I'm just going to separate this stuff like this. Usually what I call in another training that I did is called freeing the blob. Free the blob. So when the line gets out of the blob, free the blob from the line, and it will tune more accurately. So what we're trying to do, we're doing all this pre-work so that you won't have to meticulously go through everything. There's another one right there. You see how obvious that is? They're not all this obvious, but I'm going to double click that so that when I double click and tune all the vocals at once, it will do it more accurately. And I'm double clicking. And I wish I could find a shortcut so that you wouldn't have to double click, because talk about carpal tunnel, man. Here's another way that I separate things. That's an S. If you were to, I don't know what word he's saying, but it's an S. There's no note, there's no line associated with it. So I'm going to separate that. If you want to be a nerd, you can do that. Also, you can hover over the line and adjust it. Okay? Melodyne is probably the best thing ever. I'm being dramatic here. I'm not going to do that because you don't want to do every note. Because if you do that, you start to sound like a robot. I want him to sound human. Eddie is a great singer. And I want him to sound like he normally does, not like a robotic version of Eddie. So I don't tune every note because he won't sound like a human. I'm not going to tune that note unless it becomes a problem. Okay, I'm just scrolling through here. My thumb is hurting. There's another lick that fell through, and see how it just jumps right down there. And then if I wanted to go a step further, I would separate the S. Right? Okay, there's a scoop, like a half note scoop. So there's like one, or maybe I should call it a semitone scoop. I'm sitting here devising how I'm going to teach this, right? A semitone scoop and a whole tone scoop. People, when they sing, they go, duh, duh. There's a semitone between those two. You want to separate that stuff because you want that, the more accurate that stuff is, the better it sounds. But you want the scoop to be in there. You don't want it to, like, he just jumped up to that note and sang like a robot. Here's a great example right here. See, he dipped off of this note. And then anytime you got a line going through a blob, just free it. It will sound more natural as a result of it. Okay, I'm going through here. I'm going to go ahead and separate that. Just see that scoop right there. I don't always necessarily separate these, but anytime you have something doing that. Okay, this is 2 words, right? You can't hear it, but it's kind of like that. And by the way, this is not Eddie at all. This is Nick. See this? It's Nick. So, little fall right there. Little thing right here. Not going to tune that. I hope I'm not tuning the previous song. That's exactly what I'm doing. Oh, what an idiot, man. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do to fix that. Melodyne still has Nick tracked in from the last song. So we're looking at tuned vocals. And I'm over-tuning tuned vocals. So what I'm going to do is just go to where, if you notice Melodyne, if you click off of it and there's no red section right here, it'll go right to it. Okay. This is where I would normally just start again. I'll go to this chorus here. I'm going to hit the chorus. Melodyne will follow it. Now, this is what I should be tuning, and you can see that it's a lot different than it was before, right? There's a lot of movement there. I'm going to see if there is should always set to melodic. There is a way to separate a note as a trill. Okay, so if I I'm not going to go into this right now. My throat is hurting. Anyway, I'm going to go through here and I'm going to grab all of these guys. Anytime he passes through a blob, I'm going to do it. Now, Nick is not singing on this song lead, so these parts are going to be more in the background. We want Eddie to be featured on this. So this is the way we tune our vox. Tune our vox. See that? Okay, right there. See how fat that is and how skinny that is? That's 2 words. And that would be a good idea to separate those, because a lot of times 2 words have I see your question. I'm going to a last chance to ask questions, okay? This is how fast we go through here. You see, every time there's a skinny part, a lot of times I will take it and separate it, even though it's on the same note and there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes if you want to be more accurate with it and you want this pays off right here. This really pays off. Okay, that's enough of that. So now what I would do is just grab all of this stuff, and I would normally do this after the whole song was done. And I'm just going to pretend that's the whole song. I'm going to hold Control and go to this tool, and then I'm just going to double click. Boom, my 2 vocals are 93.7% done. I just made that up, but they're pretty much done. Now I'll just go back through here and listen to the tune, and I'll go, oh, that's not supposed to be this note. It's supposed to be this note. Okay, and there will be a lot of that because it's just inherent with it. So, all right, I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm going to do this without talking through it because I think I'm making cover a little faster if I'm not telling you. Okay, I'm going to start back up here. Love this info. Thank you, Isaac. Appreciate it, man. I'm going to take that off my screen real quick. I'm mixing my church service right now. Oh, cool. Hopefully you can take some of this stuff, maybe apply it to yours, and I would love, why don't you send me a link in the comments here? Maybe I can check it out, okay? Let's see. Nathan Brown, would you separate everything first before moving notes? Yes, I would. And by separate everything, hopefully I covered some of that. I don't separate everything. I only separate things that that look like they could be a problem. Like when he does a scoop, I don't want it to be the average of the 2 notes. So I separate it because I don't want it to tune, because it will not tune it to the right note. And you can mess up somebody's vocal faster than you can fix it just by not doing the right stuff. If you do the separate and you get this inherent musical skill, musical instinct of how to separate a vocal, your vocal, you can pretty much get it right when you double click it. It's worth putting this extra work into it. So yes, I would separate everything first before I go in there. And by everything, I mean everything needs to be separated. Let's see. Isaac says, what was that shortcut that you used for getting it into Melodyne Audio faster? Isaac, I don't know how fast this is. Tell me though, if you're using Pro Tools, I can only tell you with Pro Tools. I think that, possibly other DAWs may have the ability to do this. Pro Tools does not have the ability to do this until, like, I think Pro Tools 11, where they added the freeze function. But I'll show you, just in case you are using Pro Tools, here are the steps again. Arm the tracks that you want to record, and you're not looking at my screen. Arm the tracks that you want to track into Melodyne. Okay, I'm not sure you'll be able to do this, Isaac. You may have to do this, but if you're using this version of Melodyne, at least you can track all of your vocals in real time. So if you've got 4 vocals, then it's 4 times faster than you could in the past. Okay, but you got to be using this version of Melodyne, which I don't see how to. This is the latest version of Melodyne. I don't know what it is. It's worth the upgrade though. But anyway, if you're using 11, if you get to 11, arm all your tracks, go to File. I'm sorry, is it Track? I have to find it. I don't have this built into my muscle memory yet. Oh, maybe you have to select a track. Okay, so you have to select a section like this. So step 1, select the section you want to tune. Step 2, put all the tracks that you want to track into Melodyne, and then you go up here, I think, to oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay, it's on the track, not on the menu up there. It's on the track. Go to the track and then hit commit. Okay, when you hit commit, it'll bring up this option here, and you want to do it offline. Otherwise, you're going to just track it in real time, which is not worth it. It's faster to track it. Yours is going to be faster just to track it in, because I don't think you have these options. Let me know if I'm not right. Cool. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Pro Tools 10 to 11 is a big jump, and there's a lot of chaos that happened for me because my control surface worked in 10, it didn't with 11, and then I found out. Let me show you one other thing, and I don't know what's holding you up, Isaac, from going to 11, 12, and then 20 or whatever it is. If you have a control surface like this, there's a software called Nerink Pro Control. I can't remember what it is. Nerink, N-E-R. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to pull up this tab here. Spelled funny. Here it is. N-E-Y. All right, I'm going to share boot this one, share another tab. It's going to be this. This is what you want if you're using Pro Tools, Pro Control for Pro Tools, or Control 24. This right here is the V Control. It's called V Control, and this is my surface here, and I'm able to use it because of this program. And that allowed me to jump over it. It's not quite as good as it being native, but man, it does work. It definitely works. And that's why I'm able to use this. I like faders. If you don't like faders, you don't need it probably. All right. Okay, that's it for me today. D command. I don't know if you you're able to use D command or not. I don't remember which one that is. Possible, but if you connected it with an Ethernet cable, chances are you'll be able to use that, because what it does is it sends MIDI as if it's a MIDI controller. So try that out, Isaac. And I will. Track and then commit. Okay, so Mark, thanks, man. There's 2 ways to do it then. You can right-click from the track and hit commit, or you can go to the top where it says track, and you can come down to commit, or you can do the shortcut. You're smart. And you're quick. I'm not. I don't use it yet. I'm still looking for the menu. Okay. All right, guys. Hey, it's been a blast. Check out tomorrow. Got Scott Williamson coming on, and he's going to enlighten us with stuff. I'm going to ask him a lot of questions about what he's doing because his mixes are amazing. All right. I'm going to go. All right. Been good hanging out with you guys this morning. I'm going to put this up, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.